how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. You know, we got the weekend upon us, and that means when the news media supposedly goes home, things shut down. The lefties don't. That's when they come out. They're like cockroaches, you know. If you have them in an old house, they come out at night. When you go to sleep and the lights go out, they go, okay, here we go, and they do their damage. Democrats do the same thing with the weekends. So we got to get ready for that. But before we do anything...
What's that?
Right Side Coffee.
Ah, yes. Nothing better to start your day. A good cup of Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, available right now at rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com.
It's the good stuff.
It is a masterful blend of the finest coffee beans. Truly, if you want to start your day with an advantage... I mean, you don't want to be left behind in the day. You want to start the day with your best foot forward. Start it with a fresh cup of Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's delicious. You can get it at our rightsideshop.com. No other place. It's exclusive to that store, rightsideshop.com. Now, if you go to our website, it'sanotherday.com, there's a button on the very top of the page. You can just click on that button. It'll take you to that shop, all right? And it's not a terribly expensive bag of coffee. It should actually be costing you much, much more because the flavor is that good. The coffee is that good. And we've said this many times before. If you have a liberal friend, yes, they can drink it too. They can drink the coffee too. You don't have to tell them. Or if you want to have a lot of fun, give them a cup of Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, and after they've had that cup of coffee, tell them then. They'll gag. It'll be a gag reflex because they won't know how to take it drinking a conservative cup of coffee. It'll be like they drank poison.
You know, there's more Right Side Coffee cups coming too. I think maybe over the weekend you might see some pop up or sometime early next week.
You know, we have our little people in the back room working diligently, putting that stuff together, making that storefront a real nice place to visit, a destination point. So visit it, rightsideshop.com. And, of course, we have Juan Jose and the Border Crossers, who are always available, always ready with their guitars to play our jingle. Guys?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Wake up on the right side with the Right Side Coffee. Bill, you know, they can't do more than they're doing now to try to stop Trump as far as lawfare goes. You know, one judge will actually find in favor of Trump, and then another liberal judge will countermand that judge. It's like they're doing their darndest to interfere with this man's presidency, but I think he's aware of it. I think he expects that they'll be going to the Supreme Court to get a final judgment, on these federal judges. Now, I don't have a lot of faith, by the way, Bill, in this Supreme Court. I think that Amy Coney Barrett has proven herself to be a weak judge. She was put there by President Trump with great expectations, and she has been a big letdown. She just, keeps her head low and basically follows the left, which is unfortunate because we expected more from her. I think that. But I do think that we do have a constitutional crisis. They talk about this. We played that segment where all the Democrats were saying, "Oh, we're in the middle of a constitutional crisis." To a certain extent, we are, but it's not the constitutional crisis they're talking about. The constitutional crisis we're in the middle of right now is these judges interfering with the executive branch, the presidency. Go ahead, Bill.
I think that's where the Democrats are putting the true power, in the hands of judges, not in their hands. They want to control everything. This is kind of like if you've ever been in a bad relationship where you're just not talking anymore. It's done. It's over. It's who gets the house, who gets this, who gets that. It's the separation of everything. And it's that way with Democrats and Republicans. You might tolerate your lefty friend, but you don't like him and they don't like you. Now, we won this election fair and square and by a big amount, but they don't care. They are sitting there. It's a division of the property now, who gets what, and they're using lawfare. It's not fisticuffs where we've rolled up our sleeves and like the Civil War. It is, but it's not. And they put in place during the important years when they had people in place in power, a lot of judges. And these judges are permanent fixtures. And they apparently
what, Bill, I heard a legal expert say that they've never in the history of the country impeached a federal judge. They've come close, but they never have. But that doesn't say that it won't happen now. I think we live in extraordinary times, and I do think that some of these federal judges have overextended big time their power. And I think that unlike other times, I think you're going to see some of these federal judges impeached in the not-too-distant future. By the way, Bill, I don't know if you heard about it. Mass layoffs at multiple U.S. government agencies have begun as President Trump and the Department of Government Deficiency Chief Elon Musk accelerate their purge of America's federal bureaucracy. So whether they want to stop it or not, they're not stopping it. There are a lot of layoffs. They are happening right now. These are people, I guess, who are getting their 8-month severance, or are these people who are just being laid off?
Yeah, but the percentage was maybe just laid off. I don't know. Now, the ones that took the severance package, I think it only amounted to 4%, which was good, but they wanted 10%, because they want to clear out more than 10%, but they figured, well, okay, some people will take the deal. The Democrats said, oh, they're not going to hold true on their money. You're not going to do that. And the unions are going, oh, you don't want to do it, because D.C. has their own political unions too, because the unions want a piece of the pie. It's not about you, my friends. It's about something totally else. Even their own people, they want to lead around on a little string or a rope, and it's about power and control.
I don't know how a federal judge, a district judge, in some little dinky area of the country can raise his hand, point his finger at Washington and say, you can't do that, and stop the machinery of government. Now, people may say, well, that's the great thing about democracies. Well, we are what do they say? They're a representative republic. We are not a democracy per se. We have certain rules that we follow. And again, based upon the Constitution, the executive branch is like the highest of the three branches, a little higher. It has the more control, supposedly, than the congressional legislative branch and the judiciary branch of government. It's easy for me to say. But, the executive branch is supposed to be a little bit more special than the others. And what's happening is these federal judges are saying, no, you're not all that special. It would be like, Bill, it would be like if they can do that here. If the president can say, all right, I want to see the books. I want to lay these people off. There's too many people in this division. I want to cut down the size of that division, which is what he's essentially doing. It would be like the judiciary saying, and if he said, well, I want to also invade Cuba, because there's a reason why they're putting missiles up or something, and we want to go in there and we want to invade Cuba, and some little dinky judge somewhere says, well, no, that's against our rules. You can't do that without an order from Congress. A vote in Congress, it has to be. You're going to war, and that's not how the way the country works. By the way, yes, if you go to war, you have to get Congress to pass a resolution that you are going to war. But many times you have police actions where you don't need that. Most of the times, the whole Vietnam War was a police action, and but these little judges are interfering now at every turn. And this is why they were, like you said a little while ago, Bill, this is why they were planted. They were put in place by guys like George Soros and the like, with his money and his support. A job pays, what, $200,000 a year, and someone like Soros puts $1 million into advertising and promotion for this guy to get him into that position, you have to ask yourself, why throw all that good money away for a little dinky paying judgeship? It's because they have control and power, like right now. They're interfering with our government. And by the way, if you are a Trump fan and you were hoping that it was going to be smooth sailing because Trump got in, mind you, we do say many times, you'll hear people say, well, he hasn't been in office 3 weeks. Get used to what's happening now, because the left is going to do their damnedest between now and his last day in office to interfere and, dare I say, put him in jail. They're going to try desperately to put him in jail because the left doesn't just not like him. They hate the guy because the guy is bringing down the deep state, and the left is married to the deep state. Let's just say that, you know?
Yeah, look, it doesn't matter if it could be anybody, not just Trump. It could be Jim Harrington, president of the United States. If he's doing even half of what Trump is doing, an nth of what Trump is doing, they're going to attack him. They're going to attack you anyway, because it is not like anything else in life. Politics has got its own set of rules, and they're not fair. And we've gotten to that point, I think, in history that we've got to take a look at our political system, a real strong look, because it used to be, all right, you've got two parties here, but you've got the basic core of America. One side represents some, not necessarily values, but just, a direction that the country needs to go as far as political and financial agenda. And the right has the same thing. But it's now more than that. It's moral values, religious values. It's gender values. Look what happened in Worcester. That's a transgender sanctuary. And they want to sit there. If you can identify as a corkscrew, Democrats, great. We want to have you in our party because it's power.
Yeah.
We'll acknowledge you if we can control you. And
President Trump, fortunately, I think, was very aware of all of this stuff. He has a thick skin. And I think right now he's playing it. He even said, I'm following the law. The judges come down with their decisions, and we're following the law. He said that in a press conference. I saw him say it, and I thought, boy, that takes a lot of he wants to say these are BS judgments, but he's under control because he knows the media would be all over him. The hothead is upset because he's being very specific. I'm following the law and the judgments of the courts, and we're pursuing other alternatives and things like that. And but I think that it's all planned. I think that over the last 4 years, I think he probably played this. They probably sat around a table in Mar-a-Lago and ran through all the different possibilities and scenarios and came up with ideas. They probably knew right off the bat that the leftist judges are going to throw roadblocks in. And
absolutely.
What do we do? Yeah.
Yeah. They're attacking him on the tariffs, and they're just going willy-nilly on it. Tariffs have been a part of our life. That's how we used to do things here, tariffs, if they do their history. Yeah. But not only that, you've got all these countries. We have been tariffed to death. It's us that said, no, we're not going to take a tariff. Well, Trump has sat there and said, you know what? Whatever countries are charging us, we'll charge them.
Yeah.
No more, no less.
He's calling them the reciprocal tariffs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we want to be on the even playing field. Whether you realize it or not, we are not on an even playing field. Let's put us in a hole, a sinkhole that's about 10 or 20 feet below them. That's the playing field we're in.
He signed an order yesterday. Listen.
And on trade, I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. In other words, They charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax or tariff. Very simple. Nobody knows what that number is unless you go by the individual country. You can see what it is if you go to the individual country and you look at what they're charging us. In almost all cases, they're charging us vastly more than we charge them, but those days are over.
You know, have you noticed how lazy the media has gotten? When we were young people in the business, if the president was going to speak,
Did their homework.
well, they would put microphones on the desk so that you could hear distinctly hear what the man is saying, right? But now the media, they go in instead of going in with cameras, they shoot the video on their cell phones using the microphone on the cell phone, and he sounds like he's sitting across the room. You have to really pay attention. But anyway, I digress. He is he's doing what I think needs to be done. Other presidents have just gone along to get along. Bill, for years, like India would charge us, I don't know the exact figure, let's use a hypothetical. India would charge us 25% tariffs. And conversely, we would charge them like nothing. You know, they could bring their stuff over here and sell it on our market, in our marketplace, no problem. But whenever we want to sell something over there, it causes a fortune. So all Trump is saying,
if our stuff has no worth, no value,
he's leveling the playing field, Bill. He's just saying, okay, look at you. You're charging us 25%. Good, we're charging you 25%. And watch, their hackles are going to be raised. He's going to do it to Europe too. He said this is not just going to be in Asia and China and places like no. He's going to do it in Europe too, and they're going to get really ticked off because they've had a real long run. It's hard to sell our cars in England. You see a lot of, and they have nice cars and stuff like that, the British do, but you don't see a lot of American cars over there because the tariffs are too high.
Yeah, now it's interesting because the reporters, CNN, I think, went after Trump on the tariffs. He goes, so short term, you could see an increase in prices. Oh, so you're telling us prices are going to go up? He goes, no, I never said that. I said that we're going to, and that's where, he did the line on the tariffs and basically sat there and said, yeah, you could see, but nobody knows. We don't know. I don't know. We're going to put these tariffs in place. We do know this, that we are going to sit there and actually make more money out of this, and we'll produce more and we'll have more jobs and things will go down. But you got to sit there, it's like we're bleeding. Well, I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it, but it's not stopping it takes a little while for that wound. You've got to close the wound. You've got to. We
are in amazing times because what Trump is doing is he's said it before. It's just common sense. If we're being charged X amount of dollars, then we'll charge them X amount of dollars. It's very simple, but we haven't worked that way.
We went to hell over the last 4 years with Biden-Harris.
Awful.
Yeah, higher gas prices. We shut off the fact that we made gas. We pulled our skirt up and we bent over for everybody. Pardon the analogy, but that's what we did. And you have to admit that we are in a worse place now than we were then. All those job numbers.
Well, you know what, Bill, though? An interesting point, though. What we've shown in the last 4 years is the natural resilience of our country, meaning how strong we are as a country. Excuse that noise in the background, just a computer doing something. How strong we are as a nation with nobody leading us, with nobody driving the bus. We've stayed, we've gone side to side. We've gone in the breakdown lane and stuff like that, but we didn't crash, and that says to me that we're a damn strong country, no matter what.
Well, no matter what for a while, because what I'm saying is the past 4 years, you were willing to accept everything that Joe did, no matter how bad it was. And even the media got to the point going, this guy, this is not going right. Okay. But they still said, okay, give it a chance. Give it a chance. All right. Now we're sitting here going, we're going to right this bad ship,
Yeah.
because we are, listing a little bit to the left, a lot to the left. But either way, we need to take time to not list it to the right, but get it center balanced again. And that's all that's going on, just getting things back to where they should be. Give it a chance to work. You know what? There's no guarantees on anything in life. I would, but as a betting person, I'm not a betting person. I would bet on what's going on right now that I'm not betting that it's the right thing. I know it's the right stuff to do. And you do too.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely, no, all I was pointing out was that with an inept clown in the Oval Office, meaning Biden, the country still basically, it didn't collapse. I mean, other countries would have collapsed, but because we're such a strong nation, because we pay our taxes, we go to work every day, we do the things that make a great nation function. We didn't hit that wall. We came close because Biden, he didn't pay attention. The guy, he started his day at 9:30 in the morning and he was done by 1:30 in the afternoon. He was taking a nap at 3:00. I mean, this guy was an absolute waste of space. The country was being run by a bunch of behind the scenes, Dr. Oz's. I don't mean the Dr. Oz from TV. I mean the Wizard of Oz, I mean, there were a lot of people behind the curtain pulling the strings that we never saw, which was really corrupt. And I hope someday we find out who those people are, because we didn't elect them to do that. But they did it. And I could go on. Hey, do you know what happened yesterday, Bill? In the Harry S. Truman collided with a Panamanian flag cargo ship. How do you collide in open waters with a cargo ship? I don't know how you do that. I mean, there's somebody up on the bridge of that carrier 24/7 looking at the radar, navigating the vessel. It's not like they put it on autopilot and take a nap. How does a cargo ship in open waters just run into an aircraft carrier?
I don't want to sound like a know-it-all because I wasn't in the Navy. I wasn't a helmsman, but my brother was. He was on a ship, the USS King, which it was part of the force with the Enterprise back in the time that he was in service. And they had the distinction, after having some, a captain that did something bad to the ship. They got it fixed in Subic Bay, and then they were back out at sea. And the Enterprise had some work done in San Diego, and she went back to San Diego to escort. My brother, who was a helmsman, he gets his orders from captain on the deck, and the captain calls, right rudder, 30 degree, whatever it is, however they do it. And my brother challenged an order going, I can't do that. We're going to hit the Enterprise, and he got the, you just do what I say. So he did. And guess what? They hit. Both of them ended back up in dry dock to get, $64 million worth of new sonar for whatever it was for the Enterprise, and work done on their ship. And when they came back out of dock, he was answering to yet another new captain. So, what I'm saying is it's stupidity on the deck. Somebody wasn't minding the fort like they were supposed to. And that's the captain. That's the guy that barks all the orders, that he takes in all the intel from everybody that's there, who's ever on whatever it is. If you're in the Navy or, on a ship, that I'm on thin ice here, but basically I've got it right here. Nobody is, the helmsman may be the sole guy that turns that ship, but he was given an order, or he's a stupid idiot. But there's something broke down, in that whole chain of command.
If you've ever been on a cruise and been out at sea, and you go out of the deck and you look around and you can see for miles on a nice day, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it's heavy traffic on the 101. It's open sea.
You can see what's going on.
So I just don't understand how a cargo ship in open sea bumps into a U.S. aircraft carrier. Unless, I know, this is a conspiracy theorist in me again, but unless there was some intention behind it. They wanted to hit it. But then again, I look at the Andrea Doria and the Stockholm. I don't really remember that story, but the Andrea Doria was broadsided by the Stockholm and sunk the Andrea Doria. So I guess anything could happen,
Yeah, and about a year ago or so, maybe a little over, we had a cargo ship that hit a bridge.
That's true. That's true. I mean, and you think that they might have kind of like known the bridge was there? I mean, the bridge wasn't moving. You know, it just didn't pop up. By the way, I do think there's more to that story, Bill.
There's more to a lot of these stories, and look, the what is it? The C-32 or 757, the converted Boeing that was carrying Marco Rubio to, where was it, Germany or whatever, for some conference going on there. It took off yesterday, and they went only a little ways, and I guess they had a problem with the windscreen on the jet, so they had to turn around and come back and do a landing. And there's been a lot of weird mechanical things going on.
No, that is strange. That's like, how do you put the Secretary of State on an airplane, and it hasn't been inspected from front to back before takeoff?
Well, remember the crash? I guess it was over the weekend, the Learjet landing, and then it hit a parked plane. And one of my liberal friends said, "Oh, it was owned by Vince Neil. Thank God he wasn't on the plane. He owned the plane." And I'm sitting there going, one thing that I'm kind of looking at, now, I don't know what the regulations are today. I know when I used to fly, it was 100 hours of service for a plane. It has to be inspected, and 100 hours doesn't seem like a lot, and it's really not, but it's flying time. You want to make sure that the airframe, everything, because, you don't have a lot of options when you're up 7,000 feet, 10,000, 30,000 feet. If something goes wrong, you don't have a lot of options.
Right.
It's pretty much straight down to the ground. But, with all that said, I'm starting to wonder, like that plane, when it landed, the nose gear collapsed.
You think our aviation industry has become lax? I mean, our system has become lax with the safety standards?
Yeah, I'm saying that whoever is doing that and doing the inspections and the maintenance on them has gone to hell in a handbasket. You might say, well, maybe DEI, and I'm not putting these people down. I'm not saying they can't be inspectors and mechanics to fix everything, but if they weren't trained for the job, then I'm saying no, they can't. I have an able-bodied son that could do that job, but he can't because he's not trained in that.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, we have put people into positions just to sit there and put to forward an agenda, a political agenda, and they didn't think about the safety of me, and everyone around us.
Little things. You see where all of a sudden, and I've read this recently, a lot of these towing vehicles on the runway that tow the airplanes. Mm-hmm. They're little, I guess they're run by diesel or something like that, but they're little tractors that pull the airplane to different areas of the airport. They've run into airplanes with these things. All of a sudden, a whole bunch of these things, guys will, not paying attention, will hit the airplane and damage it. And you say, well, how does that happen? I mean, for years, people have been driving these things all over airports, no problem at all. And maybe it goes to what you're saying. They're sticking people in these positions. Can you drive? You got a license? Yeah, okay, you can drive that tow. Well, maybe there's more to that towing vehicle than just having a license. Maybe you have to have certain skills that this guy doesn't have, but maybe what they're doing is they're checking off boxes, like you say, as opposed to having people who have the abilities to do the job. Anyway.
Well, you know what? Just add the extra box. Are you certified in this? You go to work in a warehouse.
Yeah.
You're going to be lifting boxes and moving boxes down the line or on a conveyor, unless, of course, you're checked out and certified that you can drive the forklift. And it's not like, hey, yeah, okay, put it in drive, let's go. There's a steering wheel. there's a lot more to it than that, because sometimes the steering's in the back of the thing. You got those big, long forks in front of it. You need to know what you're doing and be aware and cognizant of everything. And if you're not, you're a danger on the floor with that machine.
Yeah. Hey, you see where, Rick Grinnell is now the acting chairman of the Kennedy Center. Rick Grinnell has been this kind of go-to guy to do all these odd jobs for the president. He's gifted in so many areas. He's put deals together internationally. I think he was the ambassador to Germany for a while. But now, this term, President Trump put Rick Grinnell in the position of chairman of, or the guy who runs the Kennedy Center. He came out yesterday and said the Kennedy Center's financial situation is dire. It has no cash, no reserves, and just debt. Think about that. The left has been running the Kennedy Center for at least 4 years, and they've crushed it financially.
They've crushed it financially and all this, but the left, the woke are sitting there going, well, Trump took it over and Trump put himself in charge for right now. Okay, that's fine. But, it doesn't mean the show doesn't go on. They have sold out performances.
Yeah.
And the stars are going, Trump, conservative, I pull out of the show. Well, you know what?
Good.
For any money lost, do you have some assets? Because you made a commitment.
Yeah.
Well, and you're part of that show.
Well, Trump has conversely also said, no, this schedule of performers stink. We want to have some all-American mainstream performers that know how to entertain. And what they had down there was a waste of space. By the way, you have to ask yourself, did they misappropriate funds toward the end of the Biden administration at the Kennedy Center? Because, they were paying their light bills and stuff before Trump got into office. And what they're finding is a lot of people have been moving money around from the Biden administration to leave the new administration in dire straits. You have to, the Kennedy Center, obviously, it was paying its bills last month or the month before that. Well, where's the money now? Why it has no cash and no reserves?
Well, it's funny because a lot of these projects and a lot of things that are out there, institutions that are out there, prior to the inauguration, after the election, and I believe that there are stories out there about that, a lot of these people were taking money and parking it and trying to park it outside of the window of that, hiding money, billions of dollars. We're not talking $50, $100.
Yeah.
Or even thousands of dollars or millions. We're talking billions of dollars. Biden was actively doing that too. Get the money, get it now, hide it so that it can't do anything. And it's your money and my money. Either way, you can only rob the cookie jar so many times, and there's no more money in the cookie jar. If there's more going out of the cookie jar than going in, sooner or later, it's, destiny is going to come,
knocking on your door.
On your head.
Yes. Hey, interesting story. I don't know if you heard this. A whistleblower for the FBI testified about the fact that there's corruption in the FBI. It really exists. It's not something that people are making up. He was this guy that was the whistleblower. I guess was an agent or is an agent. And here's a little bit of what happened during the hearing yesterday. Listen.
I recognize myself for 5 minutes. And Mr. Allen, I'm going to give you a little notice. You've written some notes. As far as I'm concerned, you're the person I'm most interested in hearing from. I'm from Charlotte. I've been to the Charlotte field office. I know some people there. I was extraordinarily impressed by you and the other whistleblowers when you previously appeared before the subcommittee. I'm impressed by you again. I haven't been able to be here the whole time. I'm going to yield you some time, just if you have things that you wish to say in just a moment. But the first thing I'm going to say before I do that, and then I'm going to give Mr. Jordan the rest of my time, is I'm just overwhelmingly troubled by the fact that no one seems to be able to do much about what has happened to you. You got the Inspector General, very respectable person. You've done a lot of things that have been historic. but you issue a management alert. And to me, it sounds ridiculous to say you don't think these guys at the FBI, the senior managers, understand that they shouldn't retaliate against somebody by putting them under extreme personal hardship while they engage in a completely baseless persecution over their security clearance, and they leave them in limbo for 27 months, and to this moment haven't paid what I understand to be the consideration under the settlement that's been reached. That is astonishing. And if that's not astonishing enough, that all you can do is issue an alert. Congress does absolutely nothing. In the majority party, not one thing to impose on the Department of Justice or the FBI an appropriate sanction for what they've done. And we have a hearing about it, and everybody in the minority party, they're fearing what Donald Trump would do in the next administration while they sit here and they look at the guy who's been persecuted by the FBI. And everybody in the room understands it. Mr. Allen, do you have comments you wish to make? I'll give you about a minute and a half, and then I want to turn the rest of my time to Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir. I would just say that I consider the hearing today my last act of service as a public servant for the United States of America. And I'll give you my professional opinion. I was an intel professional for our country for many years, and I would give recommendations, and I'd also look at indications and warnings. So I would offer this to the American people as my warning to them. Since this is a warning to the American people, I say, I personally have no confidence that the FBI will rein in its own conduct. I've been persecuted along with Garrett, Steve and Kyle, and countless other whistleblowers. It is my opinion that the Bureau used reprisal and fear to control the workforce. It has been a seemingly effective tactic. I personally believe that there are no current effective checks and balances against them conducting lawless action with any type of correction in a legitimate time frame. I welcome the work of the IG, but I think any type of lawless action, there's no legitimate time frame to rein them back in. Their ability to overclassify information can allow them to stonewall forever. To the American people, you have a duty as a citizen to vote, and I strongly urge you to do so. It's how you participate in the American experience. I know people have doubts about election integrity, but you must vote. It is your claim. Stake your claim and don't forfeit it willingly. Have your voice heard. My other recommendations are in the natural order. First, vote. The second is the Second Amendment. Arm yourself and know how to defend yourself. Make 3 to 4 friends in your neighborhood and promise to come to each other's mutual aid in times of hardship. And during the Great Depression, people stocked up a pantry. So I think that's a good practice, especially in our economic times, and make sure you have 3 to 4 months of food. And as a person of faith, I'd say pray the rosary, go to the First Friday devotions. That's for everybody, all my brothers and sisters of all faiths, and I know I'm Catholic, and read the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and live it every day. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for the time.
You know, Mr. Allen, the fact that there are servants like you who have borne up under persecution that a lot of political leaders in this country do not care about is the thing that heartens the American people. And I'm confident the American people will resolve the situation, no matter how weak Washington is in response. Mr. Jordan, I'm sorry I didn't reserve much time for you, but I yield to you.
I should point out that was actually about 4 months ago, that hearing. That the FBI agent you heard, Agent Allen, there is a minority man,
right,
who was an agent and who was a gifted, talented agent. Did his job for years, gathering intel, and he saw firsthand the corruption in the FBI, and that guy, it took a lot of courage for him to sit down in front of Congress and tell the truth. He even said, it's the last thing I'm doing as an agent. This is it. Because I know my career is over. Now, I think he probably would have a career in the new FBI with if Kash Patel gets in today or tomorrow. But they're really pushing back on Kash Patel. They know that if he gets in, all bets are off. The game is over, you know?
Well, they pushed on Tulsi. They pushed on, on Kennedy, and he's going to be hell for them.
Yeah,
and they know that. But there's also a thing to where they just want to have a feather in their cap to say that we block somebody else. I mean, they got Gates, but they didn't get anything else. And Trump got major players in. Cash is a major player and needs to be in this administration. Otherwise, I'm sure there's somebody behind him, but he's the guy we should have.
That'll I guess that'll be today. Yesterday they were talking about it being today. His vote. I don't think.
Well, we know Mitch won't vote for him.
Well, Mitch he's shown what he really is. He's a corrupt political tool, and he has been his whole career. Everything with Mitch McConnell has been a political deal. I'm amazed when I look at income. Let me see what I can. I found this.
I saw that. Yeah.
You see this online? Yeah. I just want to make sure I have it here. This was interesting. They sent this along. Salaries of certain people in government, and based upon what they make and what they earn. It was phenomenal. The difference. I can't find it right now off the cuff, but. Hypothetically, they were paying McConnell like $200,000 a year in salary, but yet he had an income of like $63 million. Well, how do you do that? I mean, you spend all day long in the House of Congress or the Senate walking around pontificating. What do you do to generate all that other money? Now, in McConnell's case, he's married to Elaine Chao, the daughter of a Chinese shipping magnate, so maybe that accounts for his. But
but that money really goes to her name.
Well, how about Pelosi? Pelosi, what did she do in her career to generate millions of dollars worth of revenue, other than be Speaker of the House?
Insider trading is what she did.
Yep. So, and that should, Bill, if you did it as a civilian, you'd be arrested.
You could be sitting next to somebody on a plane, just to let you know how insider trading works. Let's just say you're sitting in a plane and you're sitting next to the guy, and he goes, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to a convention." "Oh, okay. What are you doing?" "Oh, well, I invented this thing, and I've been selling it out of my garage, and all of a sudden, I got all this stuff, and what is it you do?" "Oh, I make these little food sticks." And, I don't know, let's say I got NASCAR, and they're going to jump in and endorse it, and it's going to be a part of NASCAR, and I'm going to go from selling it at the local store to selling it in 150,000 stores all over the country, and our stock goes public next week. That information is technically inside information.
Yes.
Your stockbroker would say, "Well, I see this, but how did you come about knowing this?"
Well, I was sitting on the plane next to the guy who was going to do it.
Okay. You should have never said that. You should have never opened your mouth, because now that's insider trading.
Yes.
Now, if your stockbroker goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll go and get that stock for you," and he buys.
I found the figures, Bill. Nancy Pelosi, her annual salary, $223,000. Yet she made $202 million. Think about that for a second. Just let it sink in. $223,000, that's her income, and yet she is worth $202 million. Mitch McConnell, annual salary $200,000. Net worth, I was wrong. It's not, his net worth is $95 million.
Mm-hmm.
Chuckles Schumer hasn't worked a day in his life. Annual salary $210,000. His net worth is $75 million.
Now there's a tell, because he hasn't worked. He has nothing to show for the money, but a pay stub from Washington, D.C.
And last but not least, Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, yeah.
Annual salary $285,000. I don't know how she got more than the others. $285,000. Her net worth is $67 million.
Well, she got more money because she's indigenous. She's Indian.
That's probably what it is. Yes, and her pawpaw has high cheekbones. So
well, there you go. And she came from a poor family. So
Yes.
she got more. They gave her more money because she's a working girl, you know.
Yeah, unbelievable, unreal. Folks, it's common sense. This is not some political hit job. It's just common sense. You know, they probably got that off tax returns. So
Yeah.
how do you figure that out? How do you
Well-
justify it? No, you know, the thing is, Bill, nobody asked the question. They've been getting away with it. That's just simple as that.
Yeah, you know what? You've been lied to. You're being screwed, and you're not getting kissed.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, that's
Yeah.
This is a bad relationship that we got with these politicians.
You know, the president announced waste and fraud. Listen to what he came up with yesterday. Up to $521 billion federal dollars lost to fraud per year. $521 billion. An estimated $236 billion or more in improper payments made in 2023. That's just 2023. We're not talking 24 or year to date. $2.7 trillion in improper payments, including payments that went to the wrong recipient made made since 2003. Since 2003, we've paid the wrong people $2.7 trillion. You know,
Really?
dead people.
Well, why don't we get that money back? Just take it back.
Nah, it's only our money. It's the taxpayers' money. Who's going to go out and get? It'll cost us another chunk of change to go retrieve it. So we just write it off. You know. Wait a second. How do we write it off? $162 billion in total improper payments in 2024, including earned income tax credit, $15.9 billion. Food stamps, $10.5 billion. There's fraud there, huh? Restaurant Revitalization Fund, $8.7 billion. Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Are you kidding me? Supplemental security income, $6.7 billion. That's not Social Security. It's supplemental security income. I have no idea what the hell that is.
Neither do they. But,
Yeah, unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance, $5.7 billion in fraud. Social Security disability insurance and survivors insurance program, $8.7 billion, including $6.5 billion in overpayments. Oh, gosh, we gave them too much. I mean, folks, nobody gives a damn because it's not their money. If everybody who was writing a check, if it was coming out of their bank account, they'd be double checking. But because it's coming out of the great government piggy bank in the sky, it's not a big deal. It's nothing to worry about. It's just the government's money. They have the machines. They can keep printing more. It's not a problem. We paid too much. So what? You know, that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with right now, and that's the kind of stuff that Doge is working on. The Democrats should be applauding this. Here's the thing, folks. They should be saying, go find the waste. But they're going on the streets, and they're calling everybody and effing this, and they're singing their Kumbaya songs, and they're protesting. I'm talking Elizabeth Warren. You just heard what she's making, right? She's not a person of the streets. She's covering her rear end because she's afraid that somebody's going to find something out if they dig too deep. They're trying to shut down Doge because Doge is digging in and finding corruption. And pretty soon that corruption will have, if it doesn't already have, that corruption will have their name written all over it. And they may get in trouble. So they're trying to stop it. That's how it's working right now.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you talk about corruption and they're worried about it. You know, you look at the DOJ that dropped their charges on what is it, Mayor Adams, right? Yeah. Now I got to wonder because he's been a little bit more to the center leaning these days. You know, he's got his own party going after him. And I'm going, why would they go after their own? And then I think Bill O'Reilly actually, you know, kind of said something. I said, you know, that actually makes a lot of sense because, you know, Trump is going after Letitia James, is going after Abrams.
Yeah.
You know, with lawsuits.
Bragg and all these other people. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, wait, Adams knows where all the bones are, the bodies. Has he already talked? Maybe.
Well, this is funny you should say that. You know, Daniel Sassoon, the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, ordered to drop the corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. She resigned on Thursday. She was a senior official. She was like the acting U.S. attorney. Big deal. And she could have probably stayed there until a new one was appointed, or it might have been her in the long run. But it says the move appears to be a rebuke to the Justice Department. It comes 3 days after Emil Bove, the acting U.S. Deputy Attorney General, issued a memo ordering federal prosecutors in New York to drop the case against Adams, in part because it hampered his ability to tackle, quote, illegal immigration and violent crime, end quote. Sassoon announced her resignation in a brief statement to colleagues that does not refer to the directive from the Justice Department, the senior official said. But she was protesting. She was doing something dutifully for the previous administration. You asked why they went after Adams. It was Adams was on board with this whole illegal migrant move in the beginning, but then it occurred to Adam that it's crushing his city. It's crushing his city. It's hurting his neighbors. And Adams was a former New York City police officer, and something inside of him probably said, "Wait a second, I'm wrong. This is not right. This is wrong." And he came out publicly and said, "Stop! This has got to stop. This is crushing. It's illegal. It's crippling and crushing our city, and these migrants shouldn't be welcomed here anymore." Well, when he did that, the people on the left said, "Uh-oh, he's off the reservation. Eric is being a bad boy. We have to show other potential bad boys what happens to them when they stray from the flock." So they went after him. They indicted him. They indicted one of their own. So what happens now? Trump gets in. Trump talks to Adams. They have a conversation in private. You don't know what was said there, but maybe Trump is the great deal maker, and I'm going to talk about another deal he's working on right now in a second. But he probably sat down with Eric and said, "Eric, they don't love you. These people they're a bunch of phonies. They'll throw you to the wolves in a heartbeat. You can see that. You made one decision that was independent of their thought, and bingo." You ever wonder, Bill, how is it that the Democrats all vote in lockstep? I mean, there's 50 people in the Senate. They all have independent brains, but yet they all raise their hand like they were in a school, cafeteria asking for more pudding. They raise their hand dutifully. "Oh, yes, It's because I believe that the deep state has something on all of them. All of them have.
It's not about ideology anymore. It's about power.
They've got the pictures. I mean, someone in the deep state has got the pictures.
They set their own up. Hey, what's your pleasure?
Yeah.
I think back to my one visit to Germany where I was in East Berlin. That was after the wall came down, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was in the East Berlin Hilton, and very nice hotel. And but they were very quick to point out, but it kind of made me wonder. I said, "Well, I don't do anything anyway, Yeah. But they said, "Yeah, they used to make their rubles, the Russians, from American business people that were in there in the rooms because there was."
Two-way mirrors,
hidden cameras, and then right downstairs, nice little lounge discotheque where they sat there. Club Chip, I don't know if it's still there. It was called Club Chip, but that's where the hooker agents for
Stasi and stuff like that. Yeah,
they were in there, and they'd come on to you, and they'd do whatever, and you'd take her up to the room, and then all of a sudden. Yeah, you probably get something in the mail. I've known people like that.
A picture or something, just like a reminder of your stay in East Germany.
We'll be in contact or something
Bill, this is how I believe the left works this way with their own politicians. That's why they all vote in lockstep. They probably got money through backdoor channels when they were running for the office. They probably got in with a bunch of certain promises that they made to members of the deep state. In our history, I've never seen the left be so unified And it's not because of ideology. It's not because that's why they're ticked off at Fetterman. They're not going to support Fetterman again if he keeps doing what he's doing, because Fetterman is again another guy straying from the reservation. They put
But
a lot
he did vote in lockstep, I think, against the nominees, which
I think he
kinda
voted
makes
for.
me
I think he voted for a couple of them. I think he did stray. He might have. What's your name? The Secretary General, the Attorney General. He voted.
yeah, he did. But I don't think he went with Tulsi, and he had no reason not to. I don't think he went with Kennedy. He had no reason not to, because I think the Democrats were lockstep there. And those are probably the ones he got on board on because he knew that it wasn't critical. We got Mitch that's off the reservation,
But Billy, he's getting a
never been on our
reputation. He's getting a reputation as a maverick amongst the people. You hear it all the time. I heard it yesterday. Somebody talking about how Fetterman is a guy thinking he's doing his own thinking. He's not walking.
And you know what?
lockstep.
I applaud him for that. He's a Democrat. I don't agree with everything the Democrats do, but that is the true spirit of a politician.
Yeah.
And what the American process is. We agree to disagree, and we will sit there and present our sides. And then, you know what? If the other candidate, or they have someone coming in that's pretty good, let's go with them.
Now,
if you got someone that's pretty good, let's go with them.
another thing that they're talking about this morning, you probably have heard this, is there's a possibility of a peace in the Ukraine. First, it started off with little dribs and drabs yesterday, and President Trump leaked it, that they're talking. There's some conversation. I think that now President Trump has agreed to meet Putin in Moscow, and Putin has been offered and has accepted a visit to Washington. Of course, when you have guys like John, what's his name? John, the guy with the big mustache. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Bolton. John Bolton.
Yeah.
When you have John Bolton saying things like, well, Trump has lost the war in the Ukraine. No. See, Bolton has never seen a war that he hasn't embraced wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, you've heard Trump say that when he worked for Trump, he would bring Bolton with him to these important meetings to frighten the people on the other side of the table, because everybody in that room knew that Bolton, he just likes wars. He thinks wars work. And when you talk peace, you're talking a different language than John Bolton. So when all of a sudden CNN trots Bolton out, and Bolton saying, well, looks like Trump has talked himself into losing the war in the Ukraine. No. The way the deal is structured, as I understand it, Russia will get to keep the properties it's already occupied. I'm talking about Crimea and a couple of those eastern states that were in the past. No one talks about this, but in the past, they were historically Russian, okay?
Right.
The people in those areas speak not Ukrainian, they speak Russian, okay? So that's what Russia has got now. Conversely, Volodymyr Zelensky will get to keep what he has right now. He'll also get a chance to rebuild his nation, okay? Because it's in tatters right now. Don't think for 1 second that they were on course to win the war, because I'm sorry, they weren't. They could have stayed in the war because they could have kept throwing bodies into the meat grinder, but they didn't have the long-term wherewithal to win that battle, to win that war. So it wasn't going to happen. So what Trump has done is said to Zelensky, look, you will have technically a win. You lose the eastern states that are already occupied, but Russia will promise never to go any further than where they've gone.
Yeah, the lines will change.
Yes, but you will also get a chance now, Zelensky, to embrace and become a part of the European Union. So you will have that. Now you won't be able to you won't be able to be a part of NATO. That's not something that's recent, by the way. Russia has never wanted Ukraine to be a part of NATO. They want it to be a buffer. Would you want Mexico? Would you want Mexico to be a part of like some kind of an alliance with Russia? I mean, an announced alliance with Russia? No, you wouldn't want that. So,
That's like Cuba when we had the
right, the Russian
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Exactly.
No way did we want them in our back. They would have been in our drawers.
Absolutely right. That's a terrific example. And so this is the situation that we're in right now. And, Trump being the consummate negotiator, he's worked this deal out in private. And by the way, people have said, well, why didn't we know about this yesterday? Well, he's not going to announce ongoing talks. He's not going to negotiate in the media and allow the media to mess things up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what we know right now is based upon the fact that they're really close. They are really close to coming to an agreement.
Damn time, yeah.
Yeah, which is a good thing, Bill. When you hear people say, well, looks like the Ukraine wasn't going to win, well, think about it this way. What if you consider the Ukraine continuing the war to win something, what would they have won? Are they going to go into Russia and take its property? Never. They're not going to win anything. They're not going to win anything from Russia. The only way they win is to stop the advance of Russians. So the Ukrainians will have stopped the advance of Russia into their territory. They will stop the bombing of Kyiv and other major cities like that. They will have the promise to rebuild. And I dare say, I would be willing to bet you, knowing how Trump works, that they will come to some kind of economic mutual aid situation, meaning they'll both trade again, Russia and the Ukraine. They'll work out some kind of a deal where they become an economic mutual aid society, if you know what I'm saying. Don't think for one second that this is not a loss for Zelensky, and it's not really a win for Zelensky. Although he can turn to his people and say, technically, well, we won. We stopped the Russians from advancing, and for Putin has lost 300,000 young men. Okay, he can turn to his people and say, we got Crimea and the eastern states that are ours. We got them back. We won that. We never would have had peace if we'd gone all the way into the Ukraine. They never would have ended the war because they never would have accepted occupation by us. So we won what we needed to win in that part of the world. And now we have peace. We've won peace, too. So I think, in my opinion, what Trump has done is brilliant. War, nobody wins. I don't care what you say. Nobody wins in war.
Yeah.
You have a nut like Hitler. He was going to bring Germany. At the end of the World War II, people don't realize this. Hitler was so out of his mind. He was on drugs up the yin yang. The guy was doped out at the end of his life, and he had told, for example, you probably have heard the story. If we can't have Paris, burn it down. There was a book out back in the early 60s, Is Paris Burning? That was what Hitler called and asked his general, is Paris burning? Because he ordered it. And the general lied to him. He said, yes, it wasn't burning. The general couldn't burn the city. Hitler, if he couldn't win, he was going to bring Germany down. He told it. He said, if I can't win, these people don't deserve to have any kind of a country. He was going to bring Germany to its feet.
Well, now that's an interesting thing to bring up, because they like to call the left or the right Nazis. The lefts do. You're a Nazi. You MAGA, that's Nazis. Trump, he's a Nazi. Musk, he's a Nazi. All right. And they all would, but the one thing that Democrats say, and you've heard of Maxine Waters, everybody, all the lefties, we'll burn this place down. Well, that's very Nazi of you to say that. Thank you very much. So will the real Nazi please raise their hand?
Oh, absolutely.
I see Maxine Waters. I see Jasmine. Boy, I see a whole bunch of you there, and you're all from blue states, and you're wearing blue.
Bill, who burned the cities in 2020? It wasn't the right. It wasn't the conservatives.
The Nazis.
It was the leftist, fascist lunatics.
Nazis.
Yes. But see,
I mean, come on. Sooner or later, you take off the mask and you see what's really under the mask.
Yeah.
And, think about it. Don't go, stop, pause, reflect.
Yeah.
And tell me I'm wrong.
No, you can't. You can't. What you're saying is true. What they're screaming you are is what they are.
Mm-hmm.
No, I believe that. All of these people who are causing hell right now, raising trouble, they're the people who are the Nazis, and the fascists. I don't think, Bill, do you think they understand the meaning of those terms, these people?
They understand the hate of those terms, and they
Yeah.
understand the verbal implication, but I really don't think they understand it, and they don't see that what they are doing is a reflection of their true selves.
Yeah.
And they are indeed, whether they want to admit it or not, Nazis. And by the pure definition and the rhetoric that they're throwing out, they're Nazis. Well, if we don't get our way, we're a bunch of spoiled brats. We're going to burn it down. We'll burn you down. And that's where I'm saying we are at this divide in our life. Earlier it was actually off mic, but we were talking. It just seems that we've had a lot of air traffic crashes, all kinds of stuff, things happening at sea with ships, navigational things, and the jury's still out in all of that. But I was going like, and it started on day one when Trump's in the office. Well, see, he's mismanaged everything. Well, that's a nice narrative for you to throw out there, but it takes a while for, if what he's doing is bad, it takes a while for it to fester and sink in and to take hold. Just like what's happening right from day one might have taken a while from bad calls from Biden and Buttigieg and whatnot and everything that they did. But I'm sitting there going, like Rubio's plane. We were talking about the Ukraine. He was going there for those peace negotiations. Now they had a problem. They said the windscreen, basically what it was. Now, how did this get by inspection? It had a crack in the window, which changes your perceived barometric pressure. You don't know what altitude you're flying. They continued on. They might have ended up in the ocean.
Yeah.
And another tragedy. Now, there was a thing that they used to call gremlins. If you didn't know how to explain everything, it was a gremlin. That was, Major goes, why did that plane crash? And the chief mechanic goes, well, we've gone through, we've put all the pieces together, and all we can come to are gremlins. And then the major would understand, but I think these are planned gremlins.
Yeah. They're trying to, there are people who are trying to throw little roadblocks in the way of achievement.
There's no other reason. And, in some of these things, they might be maintenance problems. But then again, that maintenance gets back to Buttigieg and a lax control and concern.
There was a guy who worked for Clinton, and I think he was the Commerce Secretary. His name, I think, was Ron Brown. And Ron Brown was he was a friendly, affable guy. He was, I think he kind of strayed a little bit from the reservation a bit. And all of a sudden, he was leaving some meeting in Europe. I forgot where. And next thing you know, his plane did a nosedive into the countryside, and he was killed. And he was a cabinet level secretary, commerce secretary, and it was never truly investigated to any extent, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. They got a new cabinet, new commerce secretary, and that was that. But I think that you'll find if the Trump administration keeps doing what it's doing, we talk about these federal judges interfering. I truly think this is a part of the system's way of finding out who these judges are. Trump, I think this administration is by them raising these objections, they're pointing to themselves saying, I'm corrupt. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't surprise me.
You had Marco get on a plane for a very important mission that should have been safety checked everything. And, they didn't know there was a crack in the window. Now, you might not have seen the crack, but somebody during the flight inspection, the every 100 hours, should have seen what that was.
Yeah.
But what I think you had on board is you had some pilots that were well-trained, not woke, and they're going, this plane goes down, I go down with it. We're going back.
Yeah.
And forget about anything politics. This is about my life. And like you talked about that one plane that went down, I think that there are things that happen and the pilot doesn't even know, because nobody is intentionally going to
sure.
go, yeah, I'm going to take my life to take his out. I mean, there are some people like that, but not a lot. I mean, we all are there's self-preservation.
Bill, all they have to do is leave a wrench in the turbines. All a guy has to do is leave a wrench on the in an engine, and that'll be enough to screw things up and cause a problem.
A bolt for cowling is a little bit loose, so that the vibration, it shakes loose, drops in, blows through the turbines, and blows out that engine. I mean, there was a flight here. Was it this year or last year that it got in flight, and all the engines failed all at the same time?
Yeah. Well, see,
now they were able to land.
It was a gremlin, Bill.
Yeah, it was a gremlin. There's one engine going. Okay, you got a gremlin there. Can't figure out why the ailerons aren't working. You might have a mechanical gremlin, because sometimes the kind that we're really talking about, there are things. Anybody that's a mechanic will know. Well, so what's wrong with it? For the life of me, I don't know. Everything is right, and then all of a sudden, it just starts working. And then well, what'd you do to fix it? I don't know. Don't question it. Just go, and that's a gremlin. These are planned gremlins. I got to think they just don't all happen at once.
Well, and this may point back to the accident we had in D.C. a couple of weeks ago. People are asking the question, how did that helicopter end up 150 to 200 feet above its ceiling? Maybe it was because they had a gremlin in their altimeter. I'm just saying. Maybe they thought they were at 200 feet.
I think there were a lot of things at play there. I think there was, I really do think that there was DEI that was at play. I think there was bad maintenance at play. I think it was just the perfect storm for that thing to have that kind of accident. And it's very unfortunate. I don't care if you are a DEI person or not a DEI person. You don't need to have your life tragically ended. And,
Bill, and yet there are still people out there, Bill, who are on the left, people I know, who are bitching and moaning about Trump. They're still, they still can't accept the fact that their side is so screwed up.
They don't care.
No.
And it could be Trump's face on conservative, God-fearing people's values, or it could be your face or my face. It doesn't matter. We would be under the same scrutiny. Chances are, had it been me running for president in Butler, I would have been done, because I might not have turned my head at the right time or something. There's a lot of things that are going on.
Yeah, by the way, Bill, we mentioned this yesterday, but they think there were 3 shooters in the Kennedy assassination right now. 3.
Yeah, because he's letting go, he's released all that, and everyone said, well, there had to be 2 shooters. At first they said 2, now it's 3, and I'm going.
And if they lied about that, what have they told us about Butler? We've learned nothing about Butler. They have sat on that. Biden, he has been involved with that. There's a rumor going around, and I'll just throw it out there, that the governor of PA was involved with that shooting. We don't have any facts to, but there's a rumor on the internet that there's some connection between what the governor of PA, Shapiro. I don't know what the story is, but it's out there.
Well, okay, let me put it this way. I don't want to cast doubt on him, because I don't, and I don't have any inside knowledge. But the funny thing that you mentioned is I can look at a person, and I'm not going to say it's 100%, but I'll say it's in the 90 percentile. I can look at somebody and get a feeling about them and know their true nature. It's something.
Well, don't you think most people, when they're lying to you, have a tell?
Well, yeah, okay. I'll give you a tell. It's one that I say, and it's going to sound sexist. But you think about it now. If you look at certain women, Hochul is a good example, and because she thinks she's better than you and she knows more than you. I saw a TikTok video of a woman that was doing the same thing where she was talking about grammatics when people speak. Not everybody. I don't speak proper English or use things correctly. I know I don't, but either way, I get along. I'm fine. But there's some people that sit there, they don't care what your message is. You didn't properly state it. You don't know, this from that. But it was a woman, and they have the raised eyebrow, and I see that. Guys can do it too. They have different tells, but women in particular, they'll shave their eyebrows and they paint them up with that raised eyebrow. And it is a characteristic signal that they have, that they think that they are superior to you. It's a signal. And when they're talking, especially about something that they believe or correctness, that eyebrow raises. And it's body language, I guess, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't know much about
body
that.
Language. Women have body language, but they have tells.
Well, listen, all I can tell you is I don't know much about that, but we've lost our entire female audience. No, I'm just kidding, Bill.
No, I mean, there's a lot of, look, we like our women to have pretty faces.
Yes, I know.
And look nice.
But no, there's a look. If you watch Hochul talk, she does seem to. You can always kind of tell when she's not being terribly honest with us. Okay, when she's being political, you can see it in her look. And she's not a great politician. Maybe that's the difference between being a run-of-the-mill politician and being a great politician. A Bill Clinton can lie to you, and you want to have coffee with him. Whereas Kathy Hochul lies to you, you want to get out of the room as fast as you can. And it's not. It's probably because you can tell when they're not being honest with you. With Clinton, you couldn't. Hey, listen. Before we continue, I should point out that when things are getting you down, you feel like people aren't being straight with you. It's always important to sit down and have a hot cup of coffee. Don't you think so? And we got the perfect coffee for you to have. It's Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's a delicious cup.
Not only is it a refreshing, rejuvenating cup, perfect thing to have in the morning.
Yeah.
But it brings up your mental acuity and awareness of the things around you. So, I guess that's the caffeine.
So if you're a numbskull, it all of a sudden elevates your intelligence to a point of genius.
Well, it makes me a clever numbskull.
Well, considering the fact that you picked the right coffee is an indication of just how smart you've become. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's available at rightsideshop.com. It's a medium blend roast and a medium decaf blend roast. We also have another type of coffee there called Mappa. Make America Percolate Again. And the coffee's delicious, and you got to taste it because I think it ages differently in the bag that it's in. Don't you think the bag is so unique and so well done? As a matter of fact, you said, Bill, you can take the bag out of the packaging and frame the packaging. It's that good, the artwork. Am I correct? Yeah.
Use the coffee, take the packaging and frame it. Or you can do something artistic with it because there's some artistic value that is on that you could do some cool stuff with. And but it may be in the form of a coffee mug coming real soon.
All available at rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com, the place that has those fantastic musicians, Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers sing their jingle.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Okie dokie. One more thing before we wrap this one up, Bill. Trump was doing a signing yesterday in the Oval Office, and Caitlin Collins, who is a real, dare I say, and this is probably not the perfect choice of words, but she's kind of snotty, if you know what I mean. Caitlin Collins from CNN. She's trying to win the Jim Acosta Award for rudeness. She all of a sudden during the signing decided, oh, to heck with it. I'm going to ask him a question, whether he's taking questions or not. And President Trump shut her down. He quieted her down, basically saying, well, listen.
That's a good one.
Mr. President, you won the White House in part because of high inflation. If your tariffs make prices go up...
Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please. Okay.
Yeah, he basically said, we haven't acknowledged any questions yet. We're not taking questions now. Something along those lines. Please, be quiet. Which I thought, that's good. It puts her.
He shut her down after that too, because I think that's
Really?
where I mentioned earlier when she was talking about the prices, and he goes, "I never said that."
Yeah,
and he corrected it.
He did an interview with her when he was running, and she wouldn't let him finish an answer. He would be asked a question by her, and he'd start to answer, and if she didn't like where he was going with the answer, well, she would just shut him up and interrupt him. Well, this time around, he told her, "Fermez la bouche. We're not taking questions. I haven't acknowledged you. This is not your time. Be quiet," essentially. So,
Trump, I don't want to say he's vindictive, but he does have a memory of who has done him wrong. And, you can get on the good side of Trump if you've done him wrong, but he knows where he reads you.
Yeah.
He reads body language too, and you can send signals with your facial expressions, your mannerism of talking, your body movements, your clothes. It's all that you can. And I don't mean that you have to dress up. You can wear funky clothes and still be, assertive and very positive in what you do. But it's just, it's what you project. And you do project, whether people realize it or not, you project your intentions, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly.
You would think that the left, especially places like CNN, that's lost like 85% of its audience over the last 4 years, you would think that somewhere along the lines, some of the people in the brain trust that run that network would say, we're doing something really wrong here. I mean, this is a disaster. We have crushed our ratings. We are down the toilet. Maybe we should etch-a-sketch this and start anew. Maybe we should brand ourselves as the brand new CNN and have an entirely new staff of people brought in. Maybe bring in some people from other networks that have more mainstream or even, dare I say, conservative point of view and put them on the panels and stuff. No, CNN in its absolute ignorance of the business. And by the way, this is important to understand. Just because there are guys who are presidents and vice presidents of news and stuff doesn't mean that they're smart people. They have some numbskulls who are obviously in those positions because they haven't rectified the situation. It's been doing this for years now, and they've just allowed it. Either they've got a lot of money behind them, Bill, and they can afford to just lose it, or they are just completely ignorant of how the business operates. But,
they do have a lot of money behind them. It's yours and my money, and they don't care whether they make money with it or they lose it because it's not their money.
Yeah.
And we've given them control of it, and we need to take back control. And just so you know, well, Trump's getting the money. Actually, Trump is not taking a salary. He didn't the last time. Nobody gave him credit. He's not taking a salary this time.
Yeah.
And, he's not.
But yet everyone says on the left, well, they're in it for the money. They're trying to get their hands in our wallet. Oh, gag me. Hey, by the way, speaking of hypocrites, and I'm a Catholic, Pope Francis, living behind a 39-foot wall, sent a letter to U.S. bishops blasting Trump's immigration crackdown. But I should point this out to you, okay? The Vatican imposes harsh penalties of 1 to 4 years in jail and fines of up to $25,700 for illegal entry into the Vatican. Did you know that? So you have this guy in Rome, in the Vatican, this hypocrite who, he's more of a socialist than a theologian, okay? And a lot of people in our faith, they question even why he's sitting there, because he was inserted. He didn't go the old-fashioned way. But this Pope Francis, here he's sending these letters out to U.S. bishops criticizing President Trump, and he's living in a place that has a 39-foot wall around it and penalties of 1 to 4 years in prison and up to $25,700 fine for illegal entry into the Vatican. Doesn't that make you think twice? Holy smokes.
More than twice. I mean, look,
Anyway, I think we've just about done it, my friend. We've had an interesting program. There'll be a lot more. Heck, all this stuff that we're talking about, for the most part, happened between yesterday's show and today's show.
Now, what you've got going on today, I mean, Rubio's probably now there for that meeting today, the peace talks with the Ukraine and Russia. That's where that plane was headed. And I do believe that, you know what, if in my mind, and I could be wrong, so take it with a grain of salt, maybe that was that little crack. It could be a gremlin, or it could have been another Butler incident where, oh my God, who would have ever thought that would have happened? Because that's how these things do happen. And I think that anybody in the Trump administration is a target, and they're going to be a target. And God forbid, but I do believe it's possible.
How many
One
times
of them is going to
have you and I talked about the fact that the military-industrial complex, they can't be happy about the talks of peace in the Ukraine.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Somewhere along the line, something bad is going to be bestowed upon the American public and the Trump administration that, I mean, we've seen it in the past, even on the Democratic side, where somebody that might have been, a little bit more center, balanced, all of a sudden gets killed in a car crash, a fluke car crash.
Yeah.
All these weird things always happen.
Yeah.
And now the assassination attempts, they were straightforward assassination attempts, and don't think they're going to stop.
Well, all you can do, folks, because we're just we're on the sidelines, so we're cheering for the guy. All you can do is also pray that he stays safe, and God sends his angels to surround him and keep him strong. I know it sounds. I know it sounds a little like I'm a theologian here, but I do believe in God, and I do believe that God can protect. I think God protected him in Butler. I think if he hadn't moved the way he moved, he'd be dead today.
I think he believes that God protected him. I mean, as a matter of fact, I know he believes that.
Yep.
And when I say believes, it's not, using. He believes it.
Yep.
You heard that in the inauguration, his speech there.
Hey, folks, have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow for an update. Have a wonderful weekend. It was a good show. Enjoyed it, Bill.
Yeah, it was an interesting show. But, it's fun when we don't really, we have our notes, and you heard the paper ruffling here.
Yeah.
When you have your notes, but you're going, well, we're not on script today. But usually we're not. What is the best There's
laid?
no script.
The best laid plans of mice and men. We always think we have a direction we're going to go in, and it never ends up being that way. But it's okay.
Yeah, it is what it is. But until we meet again, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.